Small and medium-scale enterprise owners are ever in the need for increased financial assistance as they play a dynamic role as engines through which developing countries thrive. Joining us on the program to discuss more on this issue is Executive Secretary of the Lagos State Employment Trust Fund, Mr. Akintunde Oyebode. Thank you very much, Mr. Oyebode, for joining us on News Across Nigeria.
Thank you for having me.
Now we'll talk about this SME owners. They do not know about the scheme by the Lagos State government. Why?
I think, the awareness is continuous. So to say they do not know might be broad-based. We, as of today, have received over 20,000 applications. But we'll continue to sensitize people. We've been across the 20 local governments of the state to go and educate people on what it takes to access the fund. We've been on numerous TV, radio programs, but we'll continue to do it. We use all our social media channels, etc. But it's a continuous process. It's something that we mustn't get tired of doing. So we won't rest until everyone who can be a beneficiary is aware of what the state government is doing.
Okay, you've talked about how they can access it. Can you tell us how they can access it?
It's a fairly straightforward process. The Employment Trust Fund was set up by His Excellency, Governor Akinwumi Ambode, primarily to support businesses, but ultimately to help stimulate the Lagos State economy and create jobs. So our flagship program is the MSME loan program, to which we lend up to 5 million naira at an annual interest rate of 5%. To access the fund, it's fairly straightforward. You either go to any of our liaison offices. We have 20 liaison offices across the state, across the original 20 LGAs, or you go to our website, www.lsctf.ng, and you can apply online. The requirements are also not very onerous. You need to be a resident of Lagos State, so you must have LASRA registration. For certain types of loans above $500,000, you must have 2 guarantors who are also residents in the States. For loans of less than $500,000, you need 1 guarantor. Of course, because our funding comes from the taxpayer, you must have either registered to pay taxes, or you must be, for an existing business, you must already have started paying taxes. So it's not an onerous process. As I said, we've received over 20,000 applications. We've approved loans for, I believe now it's about 6,500 people, and we've actually disbursed loans to 3,900 people.
Okay, you said someone has to be resident in Lagos State, but it doesn't mean they have to be from Lagos State.
So if you are a resident in Lagos, you pay your taxes here, you can benefit from the loan. So it's designed for Lagos residents. You don't pay. I mean, we've had complaints from people saying certain people have asked them to pay some money. It's completely free. If you get anyone saying to you, soliciting for a bribe, etc., if you go to our website, you'll see our whistleblower hotlines and email addresses there. So it's completely free. And it's devoid of any tribal, ethnic, religious, political affiliation. So regardless of where you come from, how you worship, what language you speak, what party you voted for, as long as you live in Lagos and you meet our basic requirements, you are eligible to apply for the loan. Okay,
so what's been the response so far since the inception of this scheme?
I mean, I think it's been fantastic. As you started off saying, access to finance is a fundamental problem of small businesses, but it's not the only problem. So we're very excited at the opportunity to help people solve real problems, and more importantly, to help them grow their businesses and put more people to work. As I was sitting out here, for example, I received a WhatsApp message from a young man who listened to me speak at an event, who's a student in a federal university. And he just said to me now that he's repaid his loan, or he's willing to repay his loan that he just took barely 4 months ago. Now, this is someone who's still in university, but who said to me, my testimony, as he put it, is that I've employed a few more people, and I'm even ready to pay back this loan much earlier than I expected. Now, those are the stories we want to tell, but we don't want to tell them in tens or hundreds. We want to tell them in thousands and tens of thousands.
Okay, but you said university graduates was part of the people who took that loan, but you also said that you have to be a business owner before you take the scheme. So had he started a business before?
They're not contradictory. Yeah, so he's been running a dry cleaning business as an undergrad. So we don't say, oh, you must be of a certain, I mean, you must be an adult, of course, because you're entering into a contract. But there's nothing that stops you as a student who's running in fact, I always say to people that the university community is a great place to test entrepreneurial ability. because you are in a community of thousands of people. So it's the first place you want to test, is there a product or a service I can offer to this small subset? It's almost like a controlled experiment. And then if you're successful at that, you can then expand it to a wider pool of people. So for people like that, we want people to, people who have entrepreneurial capabilities, there's nothing that stops them from building that within the four walls of the university.
But if someone hasn't started, we know that a lot of times capital is always a problem for people.
Correct.
For example, I want to start up the business. I do not have capital to start it up, and I haven't done any business before, but I know that the business I'm going to start up will
you don't know
yield some. Well, if I'm interested in it, can't you give a loan to someone like me?
I mean, we give loans of up to 250,000 naira for startup businesses. But the condition in that instance is that you must have received some training. So you either must have received entrepreneurial training, or you must have received some technical or vocational training related to the business you want to do. Because the reality is that when you start a business, it's the hardest point of your business to take a loan at inception. You know, it's where the business is at the most risk of failure. Therefore, you can understand why commercial lenders will typically not lend to businesses at startup, because startup businesses need a different type of capital. They need more patient capital. But we offer loans of up to 250,000 naira to start up, for people to start their businesses, but they must be properly trained. They must show us something that tells us that they either received entrepreneurial training or functional training in the business they want to embark upon.
All right. Now, if it's a loan, it means you are going to pay back,
of course,
right? What's the interest rate? What's the condition for payment if anyone wants to take this loan? I
mean, it's pretty straightforward. Our loans are priced at an annual interest rate of 5%. I like to say that that's the cheapest you can borrow anywhere in Nigeria. In terms of the repayment, it's monthly repayment cycles. Depending on the business, there's a moratorium, but it's not automatic. So for people who are starting up, of course, they have a moratorium where we expect that the business would have started off, build some revenue track record, and now be able to repay their loans. For example, if you have to import your equipment, etc., if you're in agriculture, we would also provide a moratorium to those kinds of businesses. So, but the repayment is usually on a monthly basis.
All right, so give us that website again just before we round off.
It's www.lsctf.ng.
All right, thank you very much. The Executive Secretary of the Lagos State Employment Trust Fund, Mr. Akintunde Oyebode. Thanks for your time on News Across Nigeria.
Thank you very much.
And when we return on News Across Nigeria, we'll be talking tourism. Please stay with us.